Police arrested students for stripping colleague naked at the Federal University Otuoke. Police operatives have now arrested students of Federal University Otuoke identified as Kadi after a viral video showed her and others assaulting and stripping a fellow female student, Nancy, naked. The incident allegedly stemmed from an insult directed at Kadi's grandmother. The disturbing footage showed 3 young women slapping, punching, and cutting the victim's braids with sharp objects before parading her unclothed. The video triggered outrage on social media, prompting swift intervention from the authorities. Police confirmed that Kadi, a social work student, was apprehended with the support of the university security and is now in custody at Zone 16 headquarters in Yenagoa for further investigation. Reacting to the assault, a women's advocacy group condemned the attack, describing it as shameful and unacceptable. The Association of Women Against Gender-Based Violence and DO Foundation urged security agencies to pursue justice, warning that the case touches on issues of bodily harm, threat to life, and cybercrime. Leaders of the groups stressed that young women should serve as role models in society rather than perpetrate violence. They called on institutions to enforce discipline, promote conflict resolution, and ensure safety for all students. Did you get a chance to actually see this video of this incident when they were paraded? You know, the house, the apartment that the whole fiasco happened is actually owned by a 16-year-old. And none of these ladies in mention, nobody is more than 22. What are your thoughts on this report and how it affects us as a people?
Looking at it, especially when the main culprit arrested is said to be a student of social works, leaves a lot to be imagined. I mean, social work is one of those courses, like you're more or less a caretaker of society, as it were. Now, this is my words, but you know, and it's a simple thing. Anybody can do the study of who a social worker is and what it entails studying social works. I mean, somebody who is studying social work, one would have thought that that person would be empathetic and even sympathetic to people's cause. Does it mean that such person cannot be offended or grieved? Oh, yeah, they can be offended or grieved, but even the choice of that course of study places a burden on you, because I mean, as a social worker, a lot is expected of you, and a student of social worker, which means you're going to be a potential social worker. You're going to be catering for society, for all manner of people who would likely even touch on your nerves every now and again. So to see, I mean, beyond that also, a social worker most likely would likely be an advocate of some sort, because there are many issues that boils on social works that, you know, a social worker will just realize that, oh, these issues can better be attacked through advocacy and maybe some legal framework. Now, if you see a social worker who should be against such barbarity being in the forefront of perpetrating, of course, this is still a social worker in training, but it also raises some question: what is the mindset of the people we train to take certain positions? You know, now this is not, I'm not trying to blame the school or something, but it's a general question. When we admit people to study certain course, do we, you know, do they even know what that calling is? Do they see that? Especially course? Given the fact that she's in 300 level in the university. Absolutely. This is not just a jam by that we say, oh, maybe she's here to appreciate what her course entails. At 300 level, that person to a great extent is already grounded in the theoretical or some of the theoretical framework underpinning that course. That person is already thinking of what societal problem to solve by way of a research project. And you see this person descending so low to this barbarity. It raises questions than answer. The only glad thing is that the authorities, even beyond the school authority, the police institutions have stepped in, arrests have been made, and like other calls have gone out, I would appreciate a situation that this is not swept under the carpet, where a thorough investigation and prosecution should be carried out. And then the victim that has been so abused shouldn't also be left that way. I mean, justice will not be complete if that lady is not properly taken care of, to know what, you know, I suspect she would have been traumatized at this stage. So it will behove on the system, especially the social, since the school even have a social work department where this lady is studying. I think it's also a responsibility of that department to prove to everybody beyond reasonable that beyond the bad image that one of the students have thrown them in, that they can stand up for what a social work institution should do by trying to get to that student who have been abused, even if she's not in their department, trying to, sort of rehabilitate her, sort of post-trauma care or something, so that she can come back to believe in society.
Thank you so much. Now, do you know the whole framework of what caused this misunderstanding in the first place?
Some quarters says it boils down on relationship.
By the confessions of Kadi and her group of friends, there were about 3, when the police interviewed them yesterday, they did talk about someone, boyfriend, someone taking over my boyfriend.
Seems the victim was accused of taking
and using of kayamata, and you use kayamata on your boyfriends, and she was like, which of them? Now, when you hear a 19-year-old talking about which of them, right, it brings the question of, where's family? That's a 16-year-old in Bayelsa State, and that is not an isolated case, can reference it to many places in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Have left home to actually rent their own apartments. If you watch the clip also when it was going on, because this news broke out, to say I want to give a little bit of due credit, was because the victim reached out to Very Dark Man, who in turn kind of, because of his vast following, made the call and even put out a 2 million naira bounty. If the girls are caught, if you can tell me where those girls are for us to arrest them, I'm going to give you 2 million. I think that also helped in quickening the case and all of that. But that said, they were actually smoking marijuana on the video while they were beating the girl. What are your thoughts as regards where we are now as a people? When you look at the societal decadence, how much our morals are constantly drowning every morning we wake up. What are your thoughts when you look at
see, when you, the issue of renting of apartments.
For a 16-year-old.
I would want to see that because they're in school, and probably that may comes down to the failure in infrastructural provision, which you have witnessed across many universities.
Right.
Don't forget that Otuoke is still a very recent university.
Right.
You have other universities who don't even have enough accommodation. And when you say enough accommodation, I'm actually kind of putting it kindly. It's actually the word enough shouldn't even come in for most of the schools.
Right.
A situation where you have over 50% or more of the students living outside the school campus, and even those living inside, less than the number actually got accommodation properly from the school system. So that has given rise to many students going what is popularly called off-camp apartment. That has also given rise to shy landlords around school environment who give all those properties at cutthroat rent, prices here. It's a societal failure. It's an institutional failure across. And these are the things that I think should interest the Ministries of Education, the Association of Nigerian Vice Chancellor. I think there is such an association, and every other stakeholders in the Nigerian university system. How can we ensure that more accommodation? Because beyond this, there are also other issues of insecurity around students. If you remember the Alufo in Uniport, that case probably wouldn't have happened if those young men were living inside the school compound. Of course, I know that with this situation, there are also many people who don't want to live inside school. They want to have their own apartment. But the thing is, if we have enough infrastructure in school, many more students, and when I say infrastructure, I don't just mean a cover, I mean a proper accommodation befitting of people we are training for the future. Many people, even those students who want to show up by living off-camp, will find little reason to convince their parents to give them money for off-camp accommodation. But when there is no accommodation, I mean the school has not provided for you, so it will be easier to talk to mommy, daddy to give you, provide such rent. So it's a failure on the part of the state. And because they live outside of the school, they can easily get into all sorts of criminality. If you notice in most schools, cult activities are usually more common for off-camp dwellers. I mean, those on campus can also belong to cults and all those, get involved in other criminality. But the chances of carrying out those activities openly within the school system is usually minimized. But when they are off campus, it seems they are on a world of their own, so they can do a whole lot. So for me, this is a call to our society to wake up. As we set up institutions, accommodations should be a priority. Accommodation, classroom, and offices, everything that makes an institution should be considered. And I would like a situation where, even if you're going to, most schools, at least the government-owned schools, has enough land that even if the government can't afford to build the hostels itself, there can be a private sector partnership that could be properly regulated so that those partners can build inside the school compound, get their rent properly monitored and regulated by the system so as to also make it affordable to students. And that way, the school security system could easily have an eye on their students. Of course, I appreciate the fact that most people, in fact, the idea of coming to university is that you are an adult, but it doesn't take away the need for that security agencies would be at alert. It's easier for school security system to keep an eye on their students that are within the school system than those living outside. Those living outside, in most cases, they could even go far away from the campus, in which case they are just like every other citizen, and the school security cannot barge in on them to regulate their behavior, as it were. Then on the issue of, this passion for crime, it's always staggers my imagination that most times passion for crime, it's always committed or quite a number of times. You see the people of the same sex fighting. For example, a guy feels that his girlfriend left him for another guy. Rather than taking it that he has been cheated by his girlfriend, he sees the other guy as his competitor and plan against, those that are criminally minded. The attack is on the guy rather than Now, this is not to justify any of the attack, but, the other guy may just have been somebody who saw a lady without even knowing you're in the picture, and something works for them. It's the same way. This other lady, does she know that you are actually dating this person? I'm just thinking. And then whatever the case is, even if this person knows, if a person could leave you for another person, I don't think that person is worth fighting for. And this is not about that, whether that person is good or not, but it's about choice. It's that a choice has been made. For all I know, that person may be a very fantastic person, but he or she has made a choice to be with another person. As painful as that may be, I think whoever has been a victim of such should learn to live without allowing that situation to make a criminal out of it. Because if you take the wrong steps and act wrongly, the thin line becoming a criminal, a murderer, is just there. And by the time that happens, nobody blames the other person, even if that person deliberately took your lover from you. The question on the table is, this person committed so crime. And this is where, like you noted, as society, where is the place of family and all that. And I think families also, I think some of our morals are on a loose. Now, at 16, even at 19, these are people, they are even studying. Their focus shouldn't be so much on having a boyfriend, even though we know that in today's world such things happen. But it shouldn't be to the craziest point of having to descend so low to throw whatever family name they have into the mud because of a love affair has gone wrong.